I've been on a bit of a French fashion streak with like the Met Gala, Fontaine from Genshin Impact, and while I didn't really have too much to say about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, there are some interesting outfits to talk about as well as overall aesthetic design, so let's get into that. So like I was alluding to, I've been procrastinating on this video because, kind of already covered, I'd say, the highlights of the inspiration behind Sciel E33, but I'm going to approach this by just going over the top things about it that stood out to me, a little bit of the style in general, and then getting into the character outfits because there are some notable looks, starting with the four main things that stood out to me with regard to Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I don't necessarily plan to play this game, so I looked at the spoilers behind it, and it is a rather interesting story with a really unique, multi-dimensional artistic metaphor to it, not only as far as the characters, the world, and the overall objective of the expedition crew. And so TLDR on the story, there's this island of Lumiere that is fractured from this mainland, and this paintress on the mainland paints a number every year, and people at that age vanish. And so Lumiere sends out expedition crews to stop her. It's been a series of fails. And so this latest crew that you're joining is potentially successful. I guess I don't want to spoil it, but it is character driven, more themes of morality, sacrifice, and there's a big decision that players will have to make at the end of the game with twists and turns. So I could definitely appreciate this very well thought out, very passionate storyline. And obviously with art being so central to the story and the experience of Sciel E33, we can definitely see amazing art inspiration going on here. Number one, the overall aesthetic and design is inspired by French Belle Epoque. Like, we've already covered this, so just great to see that sophisticated, luxurious, opulent style coming through in this game, paired with Clair Obscur is the French way of saying chiaroscuro, which is essentially like a play between light and dark within art, particularly the Baroque period of art. And I've said in another video where if there's two things I remember from my art history curriculum before I switched majors, it's Rococo and Baroque. And Baroque is huge on that contrast between light and dark, high emotion, high drama, high movement. And we can definitely see that coming through in the various aesthetics and action within Sciel E33. And then of course the music is another compelling component. I even was listening to some of the music when I was looking at the character outfit video, and it's just so diverse, so high energy, but also soft and classical where it counts. So we're getting an artistic experience really 360 with regard to this game. And I've said before, if you're gonna have a turn-based battle mechanic gameplay situation, at least add in some elements that spice it up and make it a little bit different. And that's exactly what Sciel E33 does. It has some real-time components, dodging, parrying. So it's definitely giving you a little bit of best of both worlds. I prefer real-time. Probably won't play it just because it is largely turn-based, but I can appreciate when a game that's already so rich in storyline and aesthetics and world building can just find additional ways to innovate within a gameplay mechanic in order to make the whole experience just a little bit more engaging and a little bit more progressive and new and fresh for players. And even though some people don't really care about this part, I do. It's a standout hit just based off of the figures. They don't lie. Metacritic score of 92, and it sold 2 million copies within the first 12 days of being released. And I'm sure that's only going to continue to rise up. I saw people say projections of maybe like 4 million, 5 million, 8 million, 9 million. It's definitely on its way to being a hit and is already a breakthrough intellectual property for 2025. So great to see these smaller independent developers come through and just deliver players really what they want. Now to talk about the Sciel E33 style in general, already mentioned that we're getting some of that French Belle Epoque inspiration. So we're definitely getting that opulence and sophistication that I feel like is pretty signature to some dark fantasy games in general. But then we are getting little sprinkles of Art Nouveau as well as Art Deco. And I really want to double tap on Art Deco because I feel like that's coming through in an unspoken way. And the decade that I really want to highlight is 1940s. I feel like the range between 1920s and 1940s often gets overlooked because you have like the Belle Epoque and you have the certain movements that go from like the late 19th century to the earliest 20th century. But then you have like 1950s and beyond for mid to late 20th century. And there's just like this simple, clean, modest middle ground between the 1920s and 1940s that I feel like is overlooked, has timeless, effortlessly chic style, and even some styles that I feel like people are starting to reinvent and add their own modern contemporary twist to today in our present times. And that's exactly what we're getting in COE33 to an extent. While there are some fantastical outfits that definitely lean a little bit more into the dark fantasy, the kind of extravagance and flamboyance of maybe like the classic historical French fashion, there's definitely just some clean, basic, civilian, modest outfits that are very practical, functional, that I think lean a little bit more into modern times, especially mid 20th century modern. All right, now that I went over some context and some style overview, let's get into looking at these actual character outfits and the fashion that they're working with. Starting with Gustave, aka Robert Pattinson. I'm just gonna use him as like the main kind of fashion discussion because a lot of the outfits are derivative and just very similar to one another. But starting with like the flower suit, which is pretty much the same as Gommage. I love this just because I love a crop jacket, number one. And I just feel like it leans a little bit more into some sort of gala look. Speaking of gala, really loving the flower element to it. I think that I prefer the flower suit over Gommage just because the red is really striking. Loving the gold trim hardware and details where it counts. Well layered, well proportioned, really clean and fabulous. Then we have the expedition suit or uniform, and this is where we're definitely getting something true fantasy, true contemporary aesthetic that we've seen across a number of different games, but just loving some of the asymmetry, loving once again the layers, the different fragments and panels, a little bit of the color blocking, which I feel like is kind of true to maybe some of that Art Nouveau, maybe a little bit of that Art Deco style, and even loving the bands around the leg. We get it in like crimson uniform, and we get it a little bit in that pure. The pure looks good too, very fresh and clean, looks even more expensive in that capacity. But yeah, there's just something so signature about that expedition uniform that truly feels like it's innovating upon. I love when there's a game that can give us a little bit of that classic, give us that historical, but give us something with a little bit more of a twist. I feel like the Lumiere suit is absolutely Belle Epoque. Like that's where we're getting plucked some style inspo, plucked some men's fashion out of that era and plopped it right in. I think I actually prefer it in I prefer Renoir suit. It's just clean, classic, black, dark, neutral colors, fresh. You just really can't go wrong with that. Very effortlessly chic, as I've always said. So, I mean, three-piece suit, you already know the deal. The Obscur outfit is fantasy. It's just pure fantasy. I prefer it in Clair. I love that actual use of the name between like the light and dark outfits. Just simple, clever, multi-dimensional application of this art metaphor or concept. It's just so well applied and permeated throughout the entire game, even into the fashion. I mean, I love an all black look, especially black and gold. You can't go wrong, but there's just that purity, that freshness, that invitation of white and gold that just really strikes me. Even the civilian outfit is just, it doesn't feel so like Belle Epoque. Like it feels very, I mean, I'm sure it's classic European and like anyway, like where did this outfit framework come from? Let me guess. Like it had to start somewhere, but I think just the wear of it just feels a little bit regular, like easy breezy. I love the Renoir, just basic, more casual, a gold vest. Again, it's just playing with that gold opulence and then white and black. Just really great play between everything, clean, sharp. I mean, and what else can I say about it? Then we have the baguette outfit, and I already knew that this was giving off mime vibes without even needing to know where it came from. And I love when there's some sort of wrap across, like over the shoulder, across the chest, like it's going on here. I've seen people do that with sweaters, hoodies, shirts in general. So I feel like it's definitely resurging as like a nice accessory decorative element within people's everyday wear. Love a suspender moment. One of the most classic depictions and like initial conceptions of what a mime could look like. but made just more practical and wearable. But hate this Saka Patate outfit. What is that? Don't know where it came from. Don't know if like a creature or a monster looks like that. Hate it. It just like, I guess we need a whimsy, silly outfit in the midst of all this luxury and opulence, but what is that? Now, looking at the women's outfits and really using Lune as the basis for this conversation, love the way that the flower suit and gomage suit were translated to the female body. Like, it's really just the shorts structure with the tall boots and then crop jacket. I feel like I've said this countless times how much I love this outfit framework. And it's like fish netted thighs, so we're still maintaining that classiness. It's a little bit of that edge and sexy mixed with the overall composition of something that is so opulent. And I didn't even mention it before, but I feel like this flower suit and gomage suit scream Piltover from League of Legends, which we know had some strong Art Deco influence. So just love seeing that come through in a much more realistic and practical way. And then the Expedition suit is just like so clean. Love the darker overall color to it, as well as it just really helps those gold bands stand out especially so. And it just feels a lot more straightforward and just solid, and even more expensive without some various different colors coming into the mix. I mean, once again, the pure looks really good in that capacity, but yeah, just really loving that overall suit. I like how in Lune's, the baguette outfit is a little bit more short sleeve. So just a small little distinction there just to kind of change it up a little bit from character to character. The Siren outfit, love it. Like, this feels almost a little bit Asian influence. Like, don't want to just throw that out of nowhere, but I'm just really just the belt work in the middle, at least something maybe a little bit more Mediterranean. Like, I don't really know how to touch on that, but love it. The contrast between the red and the green, and then just really the strong, bold hardware statement belt situation just really makes this feel so unique and really changes up the overall aesthetics that we've been getting from these outfits so far. Love the Clair outfit. This is where I'm saying it's that 1930s, 1940s especially style. Like, there were very simple frameworks like this. It's really just the silhouette and the shape of like the skirt going on, and I love that this one has like some suspender element to it. And yeah, the civilian outfit definitely gives more of that Belle Epoque kind of ruffled across the chest, and a little bit more of the kind of like bunched, different proportion sleeves going on that we've seen from that era. And then just with an like overall silhouette that still leans a little bit more into that early 20th century, almost leaning a little bit mid. So clean, simple, sharp. And then the skirt outfit, cute, simple. I love the darker color going on here, muted red or rosy color, and then the black shirt almost leans a little bit into, I would dare say, some kiss of 1950s, but it's definitely 1940s for me. And then this Dense's dress is just absolutely Clair Obscur. It's absolutely light and dark, movement, drama, extremely Baroque, super interesting. Really loving just the layers to it and the depth, because it's just like some sheer outer dress or wear, and just that incredible multi-color situation going on with the overall suit. So what a strong, striking, standout look. Then getting into Maelle's more distinct outfits, the skirt look, in her case, cute. It's like a polka dot shirt. So again, just a nice variation on a very practical, accessible style. I like how in her case, the baguette outfit is long sleeve. So it's just, again, short sleeve for Gustave, sleeveless practically for Lune, and long sleeve here. Just some nice, simple differentiation from character to character. I like how just slim, sleek, and interestingly like structured, especially in the upper body, her Expedition outfit is. Has some additional color. I feel like that stands out, similar to Gustave's, but really just liking the asymmetry here and just the overall tight structure. Like, it's just a little, once again, slightly differentiated. I'm glad it's not just completely copy paste as much as they could have done across all of the characters. And once again, I feel like the Clair and Obscur outfits are very well adapted to a feminine female silhouette, but still has plenty of those strong, decorative, commanding, authoritative elements that really helps this stand out as like a very strong go-to official uniform. There's another civilian look, which I feel like captures a bit more of the men's 1940s fashion, or at least that kind of in-between Art Deco-ish era, just with like some high-waisted pants and then the shirt, and the vest is just a nice way to, I feel like, kind of almost bring this into something a little bit different, and actually inspired my look for this video. So I really love the overall framework for this one. Simple and clean. I feel like the Painted Me outfit kind of borrows a little bit from where the Expedition outfit was going, with a little bit of like the interesting cross asymmetrical fastening or structure, or just like tailoring, and then but just is much more solid, clean, sharp. I love just how that flap in the front is just fastened and draped in the way, and the cut of it, the neckline area even feels a little belted. Simple but unique, like aesthetic style elements to make it stand out a little bit more. I haven't highlighted the bathing suits just because they all look pretty much the same, largely the same from character to character, but this one is just more interesting, more fashion, more stylish, and just a little bit more luxury, especially just with the material and a little bit of the kind of goldish coloring to it. Oh, and really love the real Maelle outfit, just with that very signature, more classic Belle Epoque ruffled neck detail going on. And then I really love a little bit more of it feels like a corset action. I'll have to reevaluate this in the lighting and make a note if I'm wrong, but a little bit more of that cinched waist just to really help the flow and the folds of the top stand out. Now getting into Sciel, love in the Expedition uniform how we're getting a crop. Like, just give us, just a small differentiation between character to character. At first when I looked at these, I was like, they look largely the same, but when you really unpack it, just enough taste of distinction between it. Love a simple crop. And then just moving straight into Verso, because Sciel and Lune pretty much have the same outfits going on. Loving the Expedition outfit / pure. Just additional belt work going on as the distinction for his overall style, with just a little bit more fabric work and a little pop of color. Just also feels tighter, more just buttoned up, more rectangular, more masculine, for lack of a better way to put it. And then another unique look here, which I feel like is a masculine contrast to the denosus that the women had. And I feel like also plays upon that like darker version of that, which is leaning into that Clair Obscur, that chiaroscuro, light and dark concept, artistic concept. Almost reminds me of like a Clive outfit from Final Fantasy 16. I don't know where I'm getting that from necessarily, but it's kind of giving ember, giving fire, really interesting, and definitely a nice, also creative standout from everything else. But loving swimsuit number 2, just for a little extra male body confidence, and for everybody who always complains that the guys don't get bulge in their stuff, we're getting some bulge, plenty of bulge going on here. So let me know if there were any particular styles or inspirations that stood out to you and especially resonated with your taste. And moving on to some other more kind of broader series that I've been working on so far after I'm finally past this procrastination spell. But anyway, thanks for watching, and until the next video, I'll talk to you later.